thank you for your time. Welcome to C5, and it's a pleasure to have a conversation with you. Mr. Clinton, if you watch today Latin America, for me it's really important to know your opinion about the current status of the relationship between the USA and Latin America.
Well, I think the USA lost ground in Latin America in the last 8 years because we did some things that most Latin Americans didn't agree with, but mostly because we weren't as heavily involved in the region as we were when I was president, when we started the Summit of the Americas again, when I travel widely here and often, and when I met frequently with the Caribbean leaders, with the South American leaders. I went to all over Central America. I think that we lost sight of the fact that our nearest neighbors should be our best friends and partners. Yes, there are political differences we have with President Chavez, and we've been criticized and had trouble with the presidents of President Morales in Bolivia, President Correa, but I don't think that's the most important thing. I think we need to be involved with the outstretched hand and talk about how we can solve our problems together, how we can seize our opportunities together. If we do that, I think you'll see America in a better position. And if you look at what President Obama has said and done in his trip down here, and what the Secretary of State, my wife, has done, right now she's in Honduras with the OAS. She was at the inauguration of the new president of El Salvador yesterday. America is really reaching out to Latin America, and I think it's going to get better quickly.
You mentioned some case, Correa, maybe Morales, maybe Chavez. Do you see any kind of alliance between Venezuela, Cuba, Ecuador, and Bolivia?
Well, I think that they have similar political rhetoric. I think that the policies are different in each country, and to some extent dictated by the price of oil or natural gas or the metals or minerals they have. But what I think we're going to have to do is to find a way to acknowledge that Latin America, from Mexico to Tierra del Fuego, is a very diverse place. And we're having elections all the time. We're going to have different governments with different philosophies, but we need some general principles where we reaffirm our support for democracy and human rights. We reaffirm our support for sharing the future through free markets and fair trade, and we find a way to work on common problems, including the energy problem, together.
When you see Argentina, do you believe that Argentina is closer than the USA or closer than that group that you mentioned?
Well, for me, it's not, that's a decision for Argentina to make. The thing that's most important to me is that America be close to Argentina, that we try to support your aspirations, help you solve your problems, and find more things we can work on together. When I was president, that was my philosophy. We had Argentina designated as our first major non-NATO ally. We worked on climate change together. We worked on agricultural issues together, a whole range of things. I think we just need to try to be a good neighbor and let the politics take care of itself. Just our closeness, our physical closeness, and our common interests will bring us together if we'll just go to work on it. We shouldn't tell you how you relate to Venezuela, how you relate to anybody else. And we should hope for a good relation over the long run with Bolivia and Ecuador and Venezuela, with all the people of the Americas.
3 questions, short question. The first one, the last week there was an incident in Caracas. Mr. Vargas Llosa, the writer, said in a conference, Venezuela will be the new Cuba. Do you agree with this?
What do you think he meant by that?
He's talking about a dictatorship.
Well, I think it's always a cause of concern if a country has one system for electing its leaders and they develop another one because they want to keep the one they've got, or the one that's there wants to stay in. But I can't say that it's always a mistake. It depends on the facts. You know, the Colombians are debating the same thing now, because President Uribe, whose politics are very different from President Chavez, is very popular because of the struggle he's waged against the narco traffickers. I think that you don't want an end of democracy. So the people have a right to have whatever constitutional system they want in Venezuela, and they have a right to fairly elect whatever president they want. But a democracy requires genuine empowerment and integrity of elections, and it requires certain constitutional rights for minorities, even people who are in dissent. And that's what I want to see in Venezuela.
President Clinton, do you feel that the fight against the terrorism, especially the Muslim terrorism, is well done?
Some places yes, some places no. I think that, first of all, we have to recognize no one can kill or jail all your enemies in an interdependent world. You have to keep making a world with more friends and fewer enemies. So should there be a security plan? I think so. I support what the president is doing, for example, in Afghanistan and trying to build up the ability of Pakistanis to fight terrorists. The Taliban has shown no willingness to negotiate or be reasonable or to embrace democracy or human rights. So some places you have to fight. But every place you can possibly make peace, you should make peace, because we have to build a world with more partners and fewer enemies. That's got to be our goal.
Do you believe that Bin Laden is alive?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Based on what I've seen, I have no reason to believe that he's not alive. However, he has had a kidney condition for many years. But the main thing that's clear is that Al-Qaeda as a terrorist network is alive, operating in the mountains across from Afghanistan, in the territories of Pakistan that have never been under the control of the central government, that the Al-Qaeda supports the Taliban and their incursions now into Pakistan more, and that they have been basically quite a destructive force. When they were running Afghanistan, they were very repressive to women and little girls in horrible ways. And they killed a lot of people, the Al-Qaeda, not just in America on 9/11, but elsewhere. And in America on 9/11, among their victims were more than 200 other Muslims. So I think that we have to both have a security policy and a diplomatic and an economic policy. Be strong if we have to fight, but try to make more partners.
I was reading the interview that you gave to the New York Times Magazine 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And some maybe funny things that I read is when you talk about the reverse roles with your wife. Yeah. And you say that your wife today may change the phone number every day, and there's no signal inside of the Department of State building. It's difficult to accept a man like you, a power man.
No, actually, I said it jokingly because I love it.
Yeah.
She can't use the cell phone inside the State Department. They'd block all cell phone coverage. So I was joking about that.
Yeah.
But actually, I talked to her right before I came up on stage tonight. We talk a couple of times every day, no matter where we are, anywhere in the world. What I really meant by that, seriously, is that she was the first person I knew more than 30 years ago who was very active in the non-governmental world, in the NGO world. She worked on NGO work within America and beyond our borders. And she told me, even when we were young and in law school, that the ability of people in private life to change things was greater than I thought. Yeah. That you didn't have to be in politics to change things for the better. So now she's in government and I'm out. That's what I meant. We have changed roles and I like it. I'm very proud of her, but I like what I'm doing.
President Clinton, thank you for your time.